Hey y'all, Michelle here with My Designs in the Chaos, where it's our goal to develop, encourage, and grow your crafting talents and confidence. And this month, school is back in session, crafting school that is. And today, we're going to be transforming a piece of wood utilizing Cricut Infusible Ink and some adhesive vinyl. Have you ever wondered what else can infusible ink work on? We know it can work on all the Cricut blanks. We know it can work on fabrics that have a high polyester count. We know it can work on coasters and mugs, things that sublimation works on. But I wanted to try a little experiment today. We are going to be using Cricut Infusible Ink on this cute little wooden sign. So we're going to be putting the infusible ink as a background onto the sign, and then we're going to be putting an adhesive vinyl decal on top of that background. The infusible ink that we're going to be using today is going to be a little bit festive. We're using a black and a red, kind of a buffalo plaid. It comes in a package of two. It comes with buffalo plaid as well as a black. Sometimes they have two, sometimes they have four. It just depends on the packaging that you are purchasing. The container, it looks like it's very, very bright and vibrant. And keep in mind, if you're utilizing the Cricut blanks, it's going to come out just as bright and vibrant. If you're using something other than those blanks, maybe something that has a lower polyester count or is not able to really absorb the inks the same way, it might be a little more dull. So just kind of keep that in mind as you are working and playing with this infusible ink. When we open it up, you're going to see that the infusible ink itself is also a little bit dull before the heat is applied to it. These are papers that we're going to place on top of our infusible ink when we go to press it down here onto our wooden plaque. This is also a little fabric duster that you can use to like kind of make sure no dust and things. That's great when you're using a, you have like a mug press or you're using the coasters, things like that, to just make sure there's no lint on whatever it is you're applying it to. And then let's go ahead and let's get our sheets out. You can see here what I mean, that the sheets themselves are not nearly as vibrant as the colors that are on the box. But again, remember, once that heat is applied to it, it's going to really pop like it does here on the box if you're using particular blanks. So just keep that in mind. If yours is not coming out the way that you want it to, it could be because of the blanks that you're using. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to put the black one to the side for now. I'm not going to be using that one. I'm going to be using this buffalo check, and I'm going to put a background layer here of buffalo check onto my wooden plaque. Now, I don't necessarily need to use all of it, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to trim off the part that I want to use so that I can save the rest of it for a future use. And so I'm going to go ahead and just use these little grid lines that are on the back of the infusible ink. This has these little grid lines on here, and I'm going to make sure I trim it all the way across. Now, you'll see it rolls up on itself a lot, and so just kind of keep that in mind as you're working with it. You can tape it down to your desk to help eliminate some of that roll. That'll make it a little bit easier. We're also going to be using some heat tape today to make sure that our infusible ink stays in the exact spot we want it to stay in whenever we're pressing it. What I'm going to also do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just remove this little tag and things off of the back of my sign so that it's ready to go. I am going to only do one side today, but if you were making this on your own, you could absolutely do both sides, make it double-sided, one for each season, flip it around for the holiday, put a name on either side, personalize it. There's so many different options of things that you can do to really make this project your own. I encourage you to do that. So from here, this is going to be the back side because it's got that big old rad in there, and I'm not going to pull it out. If you have like a staple remover, you could probably, or a little screwdriver, you could wedge it under there and pull it out. Because it's going to be on the back, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to be a little bit of a lazy crafter today, and we're going to put that on the back side. But just know if that bothers you, you can absolutely pull that out of there. Now from here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead now over to the heat press that is already turned on to 400 degrees. And we're going to press this infusible ink here onto our plaque at 400 degrees. Real quick though, before we head over there, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna actually tape this infusible ink down to my wooden plaque to make sure that it doesn't move, so I don't get any ghosting lines or weird directions or things like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some heat tape on there. Make sure that you're using heat tape, because otherwise if you put just regular tape on there, when it's under that high pressure and high temperature, it will melt onto your project. So let's go ahead and apply that heat tape now, and then we're going to head over to the press where we are going to put the background with infusible ink here onto our wooden plaque. So here we are at the heat press. We have our wooden plaque. We have our infusible ink taped to the wooden plaque so that it doesn't move. Our heat press is heated up to about 400. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that sheet of paper that comes in the infusible ink package. We're going to place it right on top there. I also have my Teflon attached to the top of my press. I do this just as a default to make sure I never accidentally burn my vinyl or forget to put it on there. So I just have it up there with magnets. I have it up there like that all the time. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to press it onto that plaque for 30 seconds. Now, my heat press doesn't snap all the way down because of the thickness of the plaque, so that's why I'm just holding it here in place, making sure that I have lots and lots of pressure applied to it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull the press up, and then this is going to be super, super hot. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to gently remove this sheet of paper. And then now I want to let this cool a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just carry it by the sides so I don't burn myself and take it back over to my desk, and then we'll peel it off and look at what that buffalo plaid looks like on the wood. So let's go ahead and flip it over and see what it looks like. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's a little bit darker on this side than it is on this side, but that's okay. It's probably to do with the fact that the press is at an angle, and so it pressed more on this side than it did on this side. So if you are doing this at your house, you might want to use an easy press or an iron that goes directly on it rather than the heat press that comes at a little bit of an angle. You could also always take it from the bottom and hold it up to the top of the press like that to help ensure that. But it's a pretty cute buffalo plaid background that we're going to go ahead and move forward with on the project. Okay, so now that we have our plaque pressed, we've got the infusible ink, our background on our wooden board, it's now time to go ahead and cut out our piece of vinyl that we're going to apply here onto this background. I'm using just a scrap piece of vinyl. I tend to keep all my scraps almost to a fault when you probably don't need to, but it's going to work really well for today's project. So now I'm going to go ahead, head over to my machine and cut out the design. The design can be found inside our Club Chaos membership, and then we will apply it to our board and then add some cute finishing touches. So let's go ahead and head over to our machine and cut out our design first, and then I'll meet you back here where we weed it out and apply it. Okay, so now we have our design cut out, and it's time for us to go ahead and weed out our design, which just means we're going to remove anything off of our design that we don't want attached to our final project. So I'm going to go ahead and take a moment and do that now. And so we're just going to pull off all this extra vinyl that we don't want on there. Now remember, this is adhesive vinyl, so this is sticky when I'm pulling it off. And you can see these 3 little dots right here at the bottom. They did not want to come out. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of doctoring here so that we can save these 3 tiny little dots right here at the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of poke them through here. 1, 2, and 3. Here we go. And now I'm going to just kind of make sure they're in the right spot there so that they look good across the bottom. There we go. That was easy peasy. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and pull out all the insides of the letters. This one is hard to see because it's white on white, so that can be kind of tricky. We're going to get the insides of these little birds here. But I'm excited to see what it all looks like at the very end. While I'm doing this, I also have my hot glue gun turned on so that it can warm up and heat up so that when we're ready to utilize it, it's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue to weed these little bitty pieces. Pull out the little wing there, the insides of the R, insides of the A, inside of the O, and then the insides of this bird as well. This little wing right there. There we go. Okay, and then his little eyeball. And then just make sure this little piece of the wing, I might pull out little tweezers here just to make sure that I can grab them. Now that we have everything weeded off of our design, it's time for us to apply transfer tape to it. So I'm going to use paper transfer tape today. Plus it's not super sticky, and I like that. And so it's paper, and so all I have to do is just kind of rip off a piece here. That should be a good enough size. And then I'm going to use my scraper tool, and I'm just going to kind of flatten it out on one end. And then apply it across my entire design to make sure that it's flat. Now, if you end up getting a bubble in your transfer tape, don't worry, it's okay. It doesn't matter if your transfer tape has a bubble. The part you just want to make sure it doesn't have the bubble is the vinyl itself. So from here, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna remove the backing off of the design. And then I'm gonna pull over the blank, the one that we put the infusible ink on. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place the lighter color that we talked about. I'm going to put that at the very top. And then I'm going to put this piece on earth down here at the bottom. Now, what you can do is I could go through and kind of trim the edge so that I can see, like if you want to trim it really close by where you have the actual design on there, so that you can see exactly where you're lining it up to. That's the worst part about the paper transfer tape, is it's kind of see-through, but it's not like clear where it's 100% see-through. But that's okay. So we're just going to kind of line it up here at the bottom. Now, I am going to put it closer to the bottom than I am the top, because I'm going to put a little bit of greenery and a little bow across the top. So that's why I'm moving mine down. If you are not putting that on there, you might want to place it closer to the middle of the piece of wood rather than closer to the bottom. So that's just personal preference, totally up to you. Okay, so once I have it on there, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove the transfer tape. And I'm going to pull it back totally flat like this on itself so that it makes it a lot easier to be able to remove from the vinyl. So make sure all those little dots are on there, all the lines are on there the way they're supposed to be. Everything's looking pretty good so far. Okay, so now we've got a cute decal on there. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put a little bow over on this side. And so I have some different ribbon here, and I'm looking to see which one do I think will look good together. I think I'm going to do this black polka dots. And then I think I'm going to do the white polka dots as well. Kind of do them like crisscrossed here a little bit. I'm going to do 2 of them on each side. 1. And then 1 on this side as well. Okay, and then now what we're going to do is I'm going to crisscross these, and then I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them in the blank areas. So see how I have these crisscrossed? There's a blank space here in the middle. I'm going to place this one right here in the middle, and then I'm going to place this one at a little bit more of an angle. Okay, so that they're all kind of on top of each other, but that you can see all the different ones. And then we're going to squeeze it together right here in the middle using this twine. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use this twine right here in the middle. So I'm just going to take a little bit, I'm going to wrap it around. I'm going to trim it off. And then we're going to put a little dab of hot glue right here on the back. Just to keep that twine in place to make sure that that ribbon sticks. Now, while we're waiting for this to dry, I'm going to go ahead and get some greenery together to put on the top of the little project as well. And I'm also going to put a little holder on the back, so a little hanger. And so I'm just going to flip this like this so that I can have a little bit of a twine hanger. And you can do a bow, you can do a hanger. I'm just going to keep mine super simple and do a little twine hanger here across the back. Again, you can get creative with what works for you. Put 2 little dabs of hot glue right across the back, and then we're going to put the twine right here. I don't want a super tall hanger on there, so I'm going to keep it pretty short and trim off this extra. You could also do a double loop if you wanted to, or make it a cute bow. Totally up to you. And then if you don't want to have this extra showing on the back, you can always cut out a piece of fabric or a piece of felt or something like that so that you can't see the back side. For me, I'm going to be hanging it on a door, so it's okay if the back side looks a little icky. Now, from here, we're going to finish spicing up the front, which means I'm going to put a little bit of greenery on there. I'm going to put the bow on there, and we're going to kind of wrap the whole thing up. I think what I'm going to do now is, if you'll notice, this bow is looking a little bit big. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim it down just a little bit. And I'm just dovetailing the ends of the ribbon, which means I'm folding them over and then I'm cutting them at an angle so that they have a nice little corner to them. So when I open them up, they're kind of just nice and they have a little dovetail on them. And I'm going to do that on each one of the edges of the ribbon. Dovetails are just a really nice way to kind of finish off the look. Okay, so now we've got a cute bow going on here, which is going to kind of go over here in the corner. I'm going to put these ribbons. The nice thing about this ribbon, it's wired, so you can kind of move them around a little bit. And then I'm going to get a little bit of greenery. I just kind of feel like it needs some green to it. So this is a stem that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to take it and I'm going to cut that end stem off there. It can get a little messy with all the little green pieces everywhere. But so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of fold it over like this. And then we're going to place the bow. Let's see. How do I want to arrange it? to put it kind of across the top and then put the bow on this side. So I'm going to place this, glue it right across the top here. And you can add your own pizzazz here. Get creative with what you want this to look like. You can add some bling to it. You can put in some berries. You can put in some greenery. You can add a bow. If you want to just keep it solid and simple, that works too. One of the most fun parts about crafting is being able to add your own creative touch to it. So in this part of the project, I want you to use your own flair here, and whatever you think you like and whatever looks good for you and in the projects that you're working on. And so I'm going to add in, I think, this little leaf as well, just right here across the top. I maybe also would put some berries or something, but because it has so much of that red from the buffalo check, I'm not going to add the red berries in there. So I'm just going to put a little thing of hot glue, and then now I'm going to cover all this part off with the bow and kind of put the bow right here in the corner. This is also a really nice way if you did not happen to get your design exactly centered or get it exactly even. Adding the little spruces and the touches across the top are a great way to help balance that out. And then now we've got a super cute little peace on earth sign that we were able to utilize using infusible ink. Didn't that turn out so stinking cute? I love it, and I cannot wait to see the way that you're able to make this personalized. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below, and make sure to come connect with us over inside our free Facebook community, because I want to see how you're able to bring this idea to life. Until next time, I encourage you, stop just collecting supplies and start actually creating with them. And remember, there's no wrong way to craft. I'll see you back in class tomorrow. Bye!